ఇక వ్యాక్సిన్ ట్రయల్స్ పై జినోమ్ వ్యాలీలో చర్చ జరుగుతోంది. ఈ చర్చలో మంత్రి కేటీఆర్, WHO చీఫ్ సైంటిస్ట్ డాక్టర్ సౌమ్య స్వామినాథన్ పాల్గొన్నారు. ఇప్పుడు లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
With the COVAX facility, in terms of sharing of the vaccines that are going to be produced in India, and a lot of them are going to be produced in Hyderabad.
Yes, ma'am. In fact,
we are fortunate that Mahima is on the panel. She's on the board for the COVAX facility. There's a coordinating mechanism, and she represents the Developing Country Vaccine Manufacturers Association. So we have a strong voice from India on that board as we shape it up and as it moves. As I said, the next few weeks are going to be quite critical. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. In fact, like you pointed out, India continues to remain a hub for vaccine manufacturing, and within India, Telangana and Hyderabad have been, on the forefront. And today, like I pointed out, more than 1/3 of global vaccines are produced from Genome Valley in Hyderabad. So we're very proud, and all the very, very pertinent points you made. Thank you very much. But one quick thing before I turn, quick question before I turn to the panel here, of the industry leaders. Yesterday, I had read a statement from the World Health Organization chief saying that while a vaccine, the hope for a vaccine is very real and it might happen, there is also an equal chance that there could never be a vaccine. Can you help us understand this? Because, vaccine in current situation seems to be a ray of hope, but there must be a reason, there must be a logic. I'm sure the industry here will never, possibly agree with whatever was said, but nevertheless, help us understand why or what would prompt someone to say, like in the case of HIV, how there could never be a vaccine. In case of COVID as well, it was pointed out yesterday that there also is a chance, however fat or slim it is, that there could never be a vaccine. Is that a fair reasoning, fair thought process? What are your thoughts?
So I think the experts who are sitting with you know very well that vaccine development is a risky business and that success is not assured. We have many diseases for which we don't have vaccines, in spite of a lot of R&D having been done over decades, like HIV, TB, malaria, etc. We have so far not had a vaccine for a coronavirus. So this is a new endeavor. So we are optimistic because of the efforts going into it and because of the number of different platforms that are being tested. But we haven't understood the virus completely. And so there is always a possibility that we don't get it right or that it takes longer. We may not get it right the first time. It may take longer. And that is why I think the DG is warning people, do not believe that the problem is going to be solved in 6 months or 12 months. We don't know that for sure. Unless we see results from the phase 3 efficacy trials, and unless we follow people up to see how long they are protected for, we really can't say that this problem is going to come to an end in 2021 or 2022. So I think he's preparing people to think longer term and to think about public health, vaccine being one part of the battle. Vaccine is not the silver bullet, I think is what he said. Drugs are also important, and new drugs are being also tested because that can bring down the severity, that can prevent death. So that's a very important one. And new diagnostics also, like the antigen detection tests, etc. Saliva tests will help.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now let me turn to, the industry leaders here. We'll start with Dr. Krishna Ello of Bharat Biotech as we talk about the race for vaccine development, as we talk about the efficacy of the vaccine, the longevity of its impact, etc., etc. Help me understand, because from a layman's perspective, I am a layman, I would love to understand this. Normally I hear that it would take anywhere from a few years to sometimes even a decade to create and produce a vaccine, because there is a lot of science involved, there is a lot of trials involved, there is a lot of practices involved to make sure that the drug is actually efficient, the vaccine is actually efficient and very, very long in terms of its impact as well. I hope we are not compromising on the science in this pursuit, in this race, in this sort of a rat race, so to speak, of one against another. I hope the science of the vaccine development is not being compromised, is not being adversely impacted. Can you help us understand how you're able to overcome these, typical timelines, etc., and how we are able to now already, because I've been to your facility, Bharat Biotech, in fact, Covaxin and other vaccines that you're currently developing are already nearly in the phase 3 stage. So help us understand how you're taking care of the science behind and ensuring the efficacy of the vaccine is also taken into account before we talk about a full-fledged launch. Help us understand, please.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And we are really proud of Soumya heading the WHO. I think first Indian and first woman candidate heading there. We are proud of you. And I think, the vaccine field takes 14 to 15 years a vaccine to develop. So we are trying to develop in less than 18 months or 12 months in this vaccine. It's complicated. But at the same time, with the vaccine experience, we are also much more cautious. It's not that we are trying to make it a vaccine just to move it fast to the market. No. I think we are putting a lot of intensive research in all 360 degrees, and that is where the partnership is helping us with US, WHO, everybody helping us to look at the some of the scientific aspect of it, so that we don't short-circuit the science. That is not there. So we are much more rigorous today. But problem, as Soumya said, the virus is a new one. So it's like a relationship. You need to build a relationship with the virus to understand how this virus behaves. Besides, the people's genetic makeup also is playing a role. As she said, we don't know whether all of us had a respiratory pathogen infection. That might be the reason why we have death rate less in this country compared to Italy or Spain, where the high death rate. So we might have got a lot of other infections before respiratory pathogens. So I think, we are not short-circuiting in any way the science. And I can tell you, our science is all critiqued by the global community, not by India alone. It's a global community. So rest assured that any of the Hyderabad company or Indian company will short-circuit on science on this matter. That I can assure them.
Thank you, Krishna. In fact, that's very comforting to hear because, while we are all actively wanting a very, very impactful vaccine coming out ASAP, possibly day after tomorrow or yesterday, in fact, the fact is we cannot afford to short-circuit, like you put, the whole science behind vaccine development. Now let me turn over to Mahima. As Dr. Swaminathan pointed out, you're in a very pivotal role right now, representing the developed countries in Gavi, and also your company biologically has been in vaccine development for more than nearly 5 decades now, and a very, very reputed organization which has known the science. Why don't you walk us through, because again, from a very layman perspective, there are multiple approaches to a vaccine. If there are 150 vaccines that are currently under preparation, etc., what are the different approaches the world is taking? What is the difference between the vaccine that you're currently engaged in vis-a-vis Indian Immunologicals or Covaxin of Bharat or say Serum Institute, etc.? Also talk us through possibly how has vaccine development evolved in the last 5 decades, because you've been in this business for the last several decades. So talk us through how scientific developments have helped and possibly how that can be put to good use so that this expeditious delivery that people are anticipating for COVID can be fructified. No, thanks, Mahima. Cheers. Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. So first of all, I think at the heart of it, vaccine development, to put it in really simplistic terms, is really giving your body a bacteria or a virus that's highly purified. So it's basically stimulating what would naturally be the way a disease would be contracted, but in a very controlled fashion, such that it's giving your body the ability and the time to raise antibodies and fight the infection naturally. And the reason it needs to be controlled is because it needs to be safe. You don't want a high viral load and so on. So at the crux of it, all vaccines aim to do what nature does itself. all the people recovering from COVID, they're getting exposed to the virus and they're raising antibodies and they're getting protected. So this is a way of simulating that. So all vaccines aim to do that. If I had to classify vaccines into the categories that, based on the technology platforms, currently I would classify them into 4. And I'm sorry if there's scientists in the audience, there might be 10, but the way I understand it in my head is into 4 buckets. So the first bucket is viral vaccines that are inactivated. These can be whole virions or the virus itself that's inactivated either chemically or through heat or through other mechanisms. And I believe Bharat Biotech's Covaxin follows that approach, as do several others. The second bucket, I would say, is protein vaccines. So these are the spike proteins, which is the spike on the corona, giving it its name. There's the RBD, the receptor binding domain-based proteins, which play a role in inhibiting the virus attaching itself to the ACE2 receptors in our body. So there's a whole host of vaccines that are targeting spike proteins or the RBD. The third bucket, I would say, also targets spike proteins or RBD. So effectively, it's a protein approach, but it's also driven by new vectors, either modified vaccine Ankaria or the AdVac vectors, and so on. And the fourth bucket, I would say, is the other and really novel technologies, which are your DNA vaccines and RNA vaccines, which is basically like a messenger. It's like coding. It's aimed to deliver a code to your genes and to your RNA to start producing antibodies against the virus. And frankly, it's extremely interesting platform technology, extremely exciting. And I think, DNA and RNA vaccines have been in development for close to 15 years now. But this is really an opportune moment to test that technology. But unlike human beings, not all vaccines are created